Remnants of the Terran Republic, 150 years. It's been 150 years since the end. The end of humanity's galactic-wide stability, the end of the dream of equality of species. 150 years for humanity and its enemies to rip everything apart. All of humanity is now spread across 1,000 worlds. "Granddad, I would settle for just getting off this blasted station's dock," Marcus said aloud. "We've been stuck at port for 3 weeks while that fat Naman Wick has our ship locked down for not paying him his extra fees, and the entire time all you've done is tell your stories about the great Terran Republic to any wayward stray that happens by." He continued with evident irritation. "The Naman are a clever species that look like overstuffed lizard that walk on 2 bowed hind legs. They have a penchant for gold jewelry and puffy clothing with colorful frills, giving them the look of some medieval clown instead of the ruthless traders and middlemen that they were known for. This Naman, however, was more corrupt than any freight inspector the pair of Terrains have ever seen, and he was keeping them and their tired old gunship turned freighter, the Phoenix, for ransom. In the days of the Republic, the Naman or any other species wouldn't dream of extortion or bribery," Marcus's grandfather Augustus shouted. "Those days are dead and gone, just like the world that spawned the Republic," Marcus shouted back. Terra was the cradle of all human life. The father world that gave wings to his prodigy to bring civility to the stars was now the thing of legend and rumor. The last war saw to that. The Republic, in a last-ditch attempt to stop the barbarian empire of Skit, a tall slaver race that looked remarkably like humans except for their blue skin and black eyes, amassed the last of their warships and all of their troops to defend Terra itself. One last stand to stop the Horde. That they did, but at the cost of the system itself. The calamity was so great that it caused the removal of the planet and its entire solar system from all star charts and maps. Now, only scattered rumblings from drunken travelers gave any heading to the once grand home of the Republic. Marcus was angry, but he didn't want to see his grandfather, the only family he had ever known, upset. "I'm going for a walk," he stated. "Where are you going?" inquired Augustus in an agitated tone. "Out," was all he said in return. At 22, Marcus was a seasoned fighter of aliens, since humans were the butt of most jokes in the galaxy's shipyards and docks since their fall over a century before. That mockery was something that ate at his very being with ravenous hunger. The station wasn't large, but had room for 50 ships in its berths, and plenty of room for cargo in its warehouses, both legitimate and contraband alike. Marcus was about to round the corner of one of the largest warehouses when he heard an alto, familiar voice. "I don't care! Confiscate the Phoenix!" It was Wick yelling at one of his underlinings. "What about the kid and the old man?" the other asked. "There will be a skit ship making port in a few hours. I've already promised those blue elves they can have the pair of them." Wick replied. Upon hearing this, Marcus's blood began to boil with anger and rage. At that second, he wanted nothing more than to skin the plump lizard alive, but he knew both he and his grandfather needed to leave. Now. Quietly as he could, he turned and ran back to the mooring. He wasn't sure how they were going to get off this station, but they had to try. As he fled, Marcus passed an empty control booth, and then he got an idea. He hustled into the vacant room, seeing all the controls for the magnetic docking restraints and the one large override button reading. "Emerging magnetic release all docks." Without a second thought, he smashed the override's red plunger down. He could hear the magnetic releases clicking off, while running down the row of ships as he quickly left the controls behind. As Marcus moved swiftly down the line of spacecraft, he witnessed all the ships floating off their anchorage, some merely bobbing up and down as if they were on water. Some that had broken loose now drifted silently to the entrance and egress channel, where they would eventually collide with their fellow vessels. He said a silent prayer that their ship was one of the former and not the latter. As Marcus neared his vessel, he could see the old ship gently bobbing up and down. His grandfather was standing in the doorway of their ship observing the events surrounding them when he saw Marcus running up. "What did you do?" Augustus said sternly. "We don't have time. Wick is going to sell us to the skits," Marcus yelled, surprising even himself at the very sound of such a thing. "We need to leave now. Spool the engines and load the chain guns," he continued. Without uttering another word, the old man disappeared, and shortly after the ship began to hum. Marcus jumped through the open entry hatch, sprinting down the short hall that led to the sleeping compartment. Once there, he began frantically pulling things from beneath his bunk, until he found an octagonal box that was covered in red and gold starbursts with a large yellow LED display on top. "We're set! What the hell are you doing?" began Augustus. "I have a gift for Wick." With that, Marcus bolted through the still open hatch. Stepping onto the dock, he could see Wick and some of his men coming down the walkway at a run, or at least as much of a run as a company of Namen could manage, setting the box down and pressing the LED screen with a push. He turned back to the ship as the display shined with life. 15 read the display, then 14. Keeping quiet count, he slammed and sealed the hatch door, 13. "Get us out of here!" he cried, 12. The Phoenix entered the now ghost ship-filled channel, 11. Dodging drifting freighters and personal craft alike, the Terran's ship glided down the crowded passage. 10. "The exit is closed," his grandfather stated with now panic in his voice. 9. "Shoot it open!" exclaimed Marcus. 8. The chain gun affixed to the tip of the bow barked to life as the first of the thousands of rounds passed through its rotating barrels. 7. Round after round hit and stripped steel from the door. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. "Don't stop!" Marcus sang out. 1. Wick stopped in front of the now vacant berth, his normal green-hued skin changing to a flame red. Gasping for breath, the portly lizard attempted to shout out an order. "Get station security! I want that old tub!" Zero before Wick could finish his orders, the box erupted, shooting colored mortars of exploding luminosity into the station just feet away from the lizard man. Just then, the door gave way and the vacuum of space pulled the Terran vessel through the jagged breach the instant before the emergency airlock slammed down over the hole. "Blast them out of the void!" stammered the enraged Namen as he stood on shaken legs as he watched wooden boxes and pallets catch fire from the falling firework embers. Now, out of the confined station, the Phoenix's faster-than-light drive started to vibrate in preparation to jump. "I only need a moment for the star charts to lay a heading," Augustus said. That's time the tiny crew wouldn't get as an explosion rocked the craft. Red lights flashed and sirens blared. "We have multiple security drones off our starboard. They have weapons locks. Shit!" the younger man yelled. Now, 5 small anti-ship missiles flew toward the Phoenix. Augustus pulled hard up on the stick. "We need to drop the flares," he yelled. Out of the bottom of the old bird came a stream of red-hot flares. 4 of the missiles detonated closely behind the ship, throwing its uphill arch back down from the sudden turbulence. "1 missile left and we're all out of flares," the old man stated with the strain of impending disaster in his voice. And with that, Marcus engaged the faster-than-light engine, shooting through space to an unknown destination blind as both they and the missile disappear into a warp bubble. "Hold on, this is going to be rough," Augustus bellowed as the ship loudly flickered out of warp. The Phoenix's walls shuddered and the bow pitched erratically as the craft screamed with wild vibration, and everything for Marcus went black. He saw a dark shape, only one at first, then hundreds, large black silhouettes against a yellow sun, not defined enough to say what the shapes belonged to. They were almost bleary, like trying to see a picture through a glass of ice water bleary. Maybe if he concentrated. Slap! Marcus was brought back to the present with a sudden jolt. "Get up, kid!" the old man stated. The red lights were flashing still. The sirens had stopped, most likely due to breaking from the warp exit. "What happened?" Marcus asked groggily. "I'll tell you what happened. That damned missile nearly sent us to the afterlife." exclaimed a now disheveled-looking Augustus. But let's start with why the hell we're sitting in a half-dead tin can light years from anywhere, shall we? Now sitting with his back to a bulkhead wall, Marcus responded, "Other than that scaly bastard giving us to the skits, stealing our ship. Most likely because we refused to grease his palms when we arrived in port," Marcus quipped. "Other than that, I decided we needed to get some air." Augustus let out a short, hearty laugh, as Marcus rubbed the pain from the back of his head and dried blood from his sandy black hair. "Where are we? And how long was I out?" he asked, still rummy from his unscheduled map. "Those are easy questions. I don't know, and about 2 hours. 2 hours! You left me on the floor to bleed out for 2 hours. It's not like you were going anywhere." Augustus, laughing, responded, "Okay, what about being lost? Don't we have charts?" "No. We hit the FTL before the computer could finish triangulating our position. We are completely screwed for navigation. Making matters worse, that last explosion damaged our outer layer of armor and dislodged the FTL motor from its housing. I had to get that thing stable before I could wake you up, or else, you know, we could explode." "Point taken," Marcus answered as he arose of unstable feet. "At least no one will be falling us." "Don't be too certain of that," a look of deadpan frankness overcoming his grandfather's face. "The skits wanted us enough to pay Wick no small fee. Their ships can track nearly anything, and the microparticles left by that blasted missile will lead them straight to us," he stated as if it were inevitable. "Then we need to fight them," interjected Marcus. "With what we have, no missile, mines, or torpedoes, hell, we don't even have more than a few hundred rounds left for the chain gun. So we need to find a place to hide, a port, planet, even an asteroid, or a shipwreck," he trailed as a faint marker buoy signal pinged across the ship's main display screen. Back at the ruined space station, the skit battle cruiser, Sasta, meaning death in High Skittish, came to dock. At the bottom of the ship's gangplank, a terrified Wick waited. As a trio of dark shadows filled down the metallic walkway, his stomach sank. "Good day, Empress Sala. Please excuse the mess. We had an incident earlier today." "Clearly," Sala said coldly. Her black eyes and that of her subordinates talk in the burnt dock and damaged spacecraft. Wick had good reason to fear the queen of the skit. She was the last living descendant of the Emperor. And to further stake her claim, she killed not only her own brother, but husband and nearly half the population of Skit. She was a calculated destroyer of worlds. And she had come to his back water station for only one reason. "Where are the Terrains you promised?" she inquired in a venomous tone. "My queen," he started to stutter. "They tried to escape and were shot down." Now he was visibly shaking. "Whatever do you mean?" Her voice was calm, clear, and measured. "They blasted a hole through the airlock, evaded my capture, and caught my station on fire." Wick's nervesy began to steady, as his tale would surely give him some bit of grace. "Very well," Sala stated calmly. "Where are the remains of their ship?" "They generated a warp bubble and took a locked missile with them. Have no fear, my Empress, they are surely dead." Sala turned from facing the pathetic lizard. Placing her folded hands behind her back, she gazed over the wreck of the docking bays. She took a weighted breath. "I'll let you in on a secret. During the Battle of Terra, we lost something. Something very important. You might even say it would be the key to reclaiming our empire as well as all other sectors in our near space. And Augustus Cassia was the only one that could give it to me." Again, in her cold, calculating tone. Why are you telling me this?" Wick said quietly. Sala took a step back. "Because you won't tell anyone." And at her final word, one of her chaperones lifted his sidearm and Wick's head exploded outwards. She pointed to the nearest dock worker. "You there? What did you just see here?" "Nothing, ma'am. Wick, he must have fallen in some freak accident." "Good," she said calmly. Looks like you're the new boss. Congratulations. It would certainly be a shame if you had an unexpected accident. Sala turned to the silent pair of shadows. Find me their trail. No mere missile would kill Augustus Cassia.